Good morning, good morning, good morning. First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Oh yeah, check 1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2. This thing on.
Whoop whoop a do. How y'all do? It's going down. Get ready to chat, get ready to chime.
Chime on up.
Chime on, chimers. What's going on, radio listeners? Y'all feeling funky on this Friday? Time to get up, get your body moving. Cinco de Mayo.
Hey. Beeee de taco.
For Cinco tacos at lunchtime.
Hey.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. How y'all doing this morning?
Everybody. Hey.
Hey, that's a
How's it
90s
going?
kid right there all day long.
Oh, yeah, man. 93, man.
There you go.
Proudly.
93 to infinity. Friday, May 5th, 2023 is going down. We got people in the chat already chiming up. Pop says, happy Friday with the fellas. And mad love from Las Vegas. Appreciate you, Pop. Leia Keister says, happy Friday. Yippee yay. Yippee yay. Yay. It's going down. Wanda Luz gives us a good morning on Facebook. Appreciate you over there. Good morning to you. Amy Hutflett says, hola, familia. What's going on?
Amy H. Dot.
Amy H. Dot in the house. What's happening? Thanks to everybody that's coming in on Facebook and YouTube. I always get a little nervous until I see some YouTube people and then some Facebook people.
Yeah. We got to make sure, the mix is in. The mix is in.
You never know, man. Facebook be tripping sometimes. So
It does. But we're working on some things. Man, me and Paul got some things done yesterday. Feeling excited.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Made some progress. You know how you be making plans on something and then, you got to put it off. And then a year later, you're like, man, let's just sit down and do this.
Oh, man.
Feels good.
I'm a believer that all things happens, in due time.
Yeah. Now, I do believe in that when it comes to time. Everything's going to happen in the time it needs to happen.
Right. There's no time like now. So
yeah. I don't know about everything happens for a reason, but I know that everything happens for a season, for sure.
Okay.
Judy Prinzer gives us a morning crew. What's going on? Shout out to our 6:30 crew, too, as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed the mix this morning over on the channel.
Good vibes.
Yeah, it's going down. Go to firstskyOmaha.com, hit the listen button, 24/7 radio station, celebration of black music's going on over there. And more to come over there, man. We started off that channel with a bunch of shows. Somebody was asking me about the Doug and Mika show the other day. They were like, man, what happened to that, And Doug and Mika came over to the digital channel for a while, but then they were in transition as well. So they kind of stopped doing that and went on to do other things right around the time that we launched the digital channel. So they had a few episodes on there, and then they kind of decided they needed to do something else. So we missed them, though. That was a pretty dynamic show.
It was, man. I was actually the engineer of that show. It was Minus Old Days, man. It was one of the ones that it riled you up, kind of get you amped up on some of the topics that they talk about. But There's also some good testimony in there, man. You know, some couple tear jerkers, man. So it was definitely a emotionally dynamic and show and very informative. And
It,
yeah.
it
Shout
was
out, shout
it was
out.
one of them shows where you got Shamika, who's doing her thing, and then you got Doug Patterson, and it was an unlikely team up,
Man,
and but it worked. It worked. It came from a couple different perspectives and talked to very important people in the city, and just people in general. You know, trying to get a grasp on what needs to happen to change things. They were a pretty dynamic duo.
man. So yeah, definitely shout out if they're watching, listening, or anybody who's familiar with them. Definitely shout out to Sister Shamika and Brother Doug.
I wonder if it would be worth it to put retro episodes on the digital channel so people can hear that. No, we
Is that
got
something
'em.
y'all would be up to? Or up
Yeah, let
for,
us
I
know.
guess.
Good morning, Vicky Young says in the morning she's singing with
Hey,
going on,
come
Pop
on,
Rock.
come on now.
Amy H No Dot says happy Friday, all good morning. Good morning to you. It is Cinco de Mayo. Does anybody
Man,
know what Cinco de Mayo is about?
it's a good question. Do you?
Well, I do know that it is a celebration of battle of Pueblo. It was the battle in Pueblo
Okay.
that the Mexican people forced out the French army, I believe. So I'm learning a little bit about it more every day because we're having a Festa de Cinco de Mayo today at the Benson Theater. And this brother who's putting this on is serious. He's like, yeah, this ain't about, people coming in sombreros and eating tacos. This is a celebration. This is a real deal thing.
Man.
Century of activism by South Omaha Mexican and American families will be honored. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Now
Beautiful.
it is going to be a celebration. There will be a tequila tasting.
Celebration.
Mariachi Zapata's going to perform, so you're going to have music,
Man,
dance.
they get down.
Yeah, they really do get down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I DJ'd a wedding where they were performing and yeah, it was a first of all a nice break from DJing and just a nice show. A nice show.
They steal the show.
Man, yeah. If
Yeah.
you've never seen a live mariachi band, I'm talking horn section, strings, man,
man.
dancers. Yeah, it's a show. It's a show. They get down.
They get down. So there's gonna be dancers, singers, food, tequila tastings going down, and learn a little bit about the situation, man. You know how we do out here in America, where we'll take some culture's thing and turn it into
Oh,
a
man.
reason to drink and act a fool. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's not this. So
America definitely knows how to turn something into a commodity.
right, come on, there's gonna be a lot of commodity parties around town tonight, but only one place where there's gonna be a real celebration for the reason behind it. So that's what's up.
Man. Okay.
Lucia Rodriguez gives us the buenos dias. Good morning to you. Mama God says good morning, First Sky. Good morning to you as well. Appreciate you. How your eyes doing? What's going on with you?
Yeah,
What's
man.
the update? Pop says Cinco de Mayo, or the 5th of May, is a holiday that celebrates the date of the Mexican Army's May 5th, 1862 victory over France at the Battle of Pueblo during the Franco-Mexican War.
Man, okay.
Yep.
Man,
Yep.
it's definitely a day worth celebrating. I feel like that's understanding that history. That feels good. Feels good. I mean, we're in that fight against colonization and the
That's what-
colony,
man.
mind state.
I'm glad you said that because I did read something from the brother who's putting this show on today at the Benson Theater. When I find it, I'll read it. But it's really about that. They were finding parallels with what was going on with independence in America. You know what I'm saying? Like there was some understanding there. So it was really interesting. Also, I learned that people weren't in Mexico. They weren't really celebrating this. It was kind of a Mexican American celebration.
Yeah.
More than in Mexico.
Yeah.
So it's right here. It says. Mexican Americans publicly celebrated Cinco de Mayo and recognized that the French invasion of Mexico had commonalities with the Civil War, then being waged by the Confederacy against the United States. Their celebrations championed freedom, winning against the forces of tyranny in two countries, and were, at least until the late 20th century, an occasion for building community and identity among Mexican Americans. So I thought that was a pretty great statement that he put down. This is the explanation of what's going on today at the Benson Theater. So you see all this beautiful, where it's going down, Cinco de Mayo. We're going to have a good time, tequila tasting and so on and so forth. But there's going to be some real celebration behind it. So
In the education, it sounds like. What's the time?
it starts at 5:30. So the tequila tasting is 5:30, and all the festivities will start at 6:30.
Okay, I mean that's a little I guess not too early.
Yeah, no, it'll be over. It's also first Friday tonight, so you'll be able to get out 8, 9 o'clock and be able to still walk around Benson and check out the art
Okay.
and everything else that's happening. So, yeah, so we do stuff a little bit early over there at Benson Theater, and just so that you can also go experience the rest of the neighborhood late night stuff.
Man, yeah. Shout out to the our pals over at Benson First Fridays, our BFFs.
Yes,
They get down, man. They get down.
most def. Tanaya Patterson says, "Man, they be in Super Mercado on Leavenworth jamming." I'm trying to tell
Oh
you.
man,
I'm trying to tell you, Pop says, while it's a relatively minor holiday in Mexico, in the United States, Cinco de Mayo has evolved into a commemoration of Mexican culture and heritage. That's what's up.
beautiful thing. I mean, if you really think about it, it's Mexican culture it is Native American culture.
Pretty much. I mean, they are the Native Americans.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
Americans. They're native to the Americas.
Right, and not to mix it with Spanish culture because the Spaniards were also colonists, just like the French, the English, the
Very
Dutch.
true. Very true.
So yeah, shout out
Uh,
to the real Native Americans.
there you go. Let us know if you're celebrating today with what you got
What you
planned
doing?
going on. Christy Norgas is a good morning. Pop says that was information from the History Channel. Appreciate
Oh,
that,
okay,
Pops.
okay.
So
Thanks for the source.
got research in the chat. I love it.
Footnotes.
Anyway, it is Friday. You know what's going on Friday, bro. We're gonna be visited by brothers Senators Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne. Put some respect
Man.
on their names.
Got to.
They called me from Lincoln last night, man. Everybody. It's interesting to hear what goes on after and around the sessions because you can tell if the session was good that day on how what their spirits are like afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like they were really congratulatory to the other Democrats that were walking by. So I think everybody's feeling the spirit of winning some things. I did read that they was either threatened or did a filibuster to get a couple things handled. That's the latest. We'll get the latest when they come in and talk about what's going on. So I didn't see any news articles about it, but I've been seeing posts everywhere. And did talk to Brother Wayne last night a little bit. So can't wait for them to come on and tell us what's going on, and, what progress they made. And if they use the same tactics as they pulled up with a filibuster and said, okay, yeah, we can do it too. We got some things we need to get down on. Let's see what's up.
Yeah, and let's see, what was accomplished, what they got across the board. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking to the brothers. Also, we have some other things to dive into. We've been talking about development. We've been talking about LB 1024, following the money. But we haven't really, and I guess if you think about it, we're following the money. So this is a place where the money is not going, talking about Ames Avenue. So it only makes sense that we haven't talked about it. But we're going to talk about it today. The shout out to WOWT Channel 6 for giving, the business owners in that area a platform to kind of voice their concerns. And they say that they feel overlooked. So we'll definitely talk about Ames Avenue and what's popping or I guess not popping in that area. And that part, continuing to follow the money. Also, speaking of following the money, there are some lawsuits going out that we have to definitely look at. A former UNO teacher, or excuse me, teaching assistant, has filed a racism and discrimination lawsuit against UNO and actually a few specific educators working for the university. So we'll definitely dive into that situation. Also, there's a lawsuit going out that talks about something called the Kansas two-step. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but there is a lawsuit. This is apparently a police tactic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
People
Also,
not feeling safe going to Kansas, bro.
man. Also, we have to worry about the safety of our inmates as well. As the Nebraska Examiner has broke a story talking about 200 rubber bullets and other projectiles have been fired at a mentally disturbed inmate. Very, very disturbed and not necessarily disturbed, but just disgusting situation. So we'll definitely talk about that. Some things. Actually, I spoke to Chris Bowling, baby boy Bowling at the Reader. We'll have him on Monday. He has some more input on this story. He's done some reporting on it as well. And yeah, what he's told me, man, there's definitely going to be ongoing conversation about this situation. Also looking forward to getting into that with the senators later on as well. So maybe some, prison reform, some of the things they got accomplished. But yeah, we'll be talking about that. There's also some national news going on. The leader of the Proud Boys has been hit with some charges, man. Actually convicted with some things. So we'll definitely talk about that And then also, I hit you with it yesterday, Paul, but I think we should let the people know, man. I don't know if you heard about this new report. There's a report about the modern doings of the KKK.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I kind of came across this on Hulu. But with this conviction of the leader of the Proud Boys, and of course, we gotta get ready for 2024. I think we should start talking about that conversation and exactly what's going to happen politically around the nation. Of course, we saw a lot of turmoil in the 2020 election. Biden is running again. I believe Trump is running again. So we kind of have a repeat of that head up. A lot of
You know,
bad blood.
absolutely.
We'll see. We'll see. So
There's
again,
there's stuff going on here like this Jordan Neely's thing, this Jordan Neely death that just happened. We keeping our eye on that because it's a white man that choked out a black man to death, and they did
oh,
not charge him, did not arrest him, nothing.
I saw that video. I saw that video. My son, the general, on social media posted that again. Yeah, yeah. I urge you not to watch the video. I just kind of stumbled
Yeah,
across it and saw it on accident. But yeah, yeah. We got a lot to talk about, y'all. It's Friday. First Guy Omaha in the morning. Let's go.
let's do it. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the DS.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat
Hey.
chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. Thanks for everybody that's joined in. If you are missing any parts of this show, you can always go back to Facebook and YouTube and watch this show in its entirety and check out the chat. Really look forward to speaking with you guys today. You know that it is Legislative Report Day. That means that we're going to have Brother Senators Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney in the house today and have some good conversation. Can't wait to speak to them about what's been going on as well. It is Cinco de Mayo. It is May the 5th, 2023. Let us know what if you celebrate, if you got plans, what's going on with that. And we'll have haps to talk about what's going on around town tonight. As it is Friday, we'll have a little extensive haps.
Yes, sir.
So lots to talk about today. I appreciate everybody who's put stuff in the chat inside Friends of First Sky Omaha. There's been a lot of people dropping articles. Shout out to Tony Johnson who put that article in about the Ames Avenue businesses. I missed that one. It was interesting, really interesting to see that. And think about that. When was the last time we spoke on Ames Avenue? You know what I mean? Except for when Jim's Rib Haven caught fire. Right. So, there's a lot of businesses on Ames that's really kind of getting overlooked. The city's really not putting them in that plan. So shout out to Tony Johnson for putting that in Friends of First Sky Omaha, bringing it to our attention. Tony Johnson 12 is in the chat, says, quietness of Omaha, potential candidates talking about these issues is going to come back to haunt them. I agree.
I mean, but who are the candidates?
The quietness of the candidate of
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Also, Brother Sanchez, man, you have so many different pages and stuff like that. I get surprised when I see your actual name in there. So what's going on? Mayor Sanchez in the house. It says KKK badges, cops by day, hoods by night. KKK.
Man.
They're not even hoods by night no more, bro. They got smart and started leaving the hoods at home and just walking the streets. I think that's some of what that documentary that you hit me to was saying.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I kind of started watching it. We'll probably probably play a trailer or something. But it was kind of frightening because it was the portion of the activity. This is a George Stephanopoulos, I believe is his name. He's doing a report. He follows this DEA agent, I believe, who infiltrates the KKK. But this is set like in modern times. This is 2015 in North Florida, where I was living in that area at that time in North Florida in 2015 as a student at a HBCU of all places, where there's a lot of us. You know what I mean? So to hear that there were some active KKK things going on, and of course, you had Trayvon Martin in Florida. You had the Jacksonville shooting which is North Florida. If you remember, there's I believe
Mm.
McDonald was his last name. The young man was shot at a gas station for playing his music too loud. That was
Mm.
Jacksonville. So again, those types of things is happening in Florida,
Well,
and
not to mention
even
what's happening now with
right,
DeSantis.
right, exactly, and of course, it was happening with the Proud Boys. So
Yep.
yeah, a lot of interesting things are going
Most
on in
definitely.
that situation.
Miss Erica Felt is in the chat this morning. She says, Buenos dias. Good morning to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mama God is asking, break down LB626 for me. I think I'm backwards
Hmm.
on it.
Have to look into that or talk
Yeah.
to the senators.
Yeah, I don't got that one right on hand.
Yeah, right.
But we'll have the senators on today, so we can ask them directly for sure. I appreciate you putting that out there. I'll try to look it up while we're going for it.
Yeah,
But in the meantime, between time, I forgot to ask you before we went to the intro, man. How you doing today, by the way?
man, I'm all right. I'm all right. Feeling a little rested. Feeling good. Feeling great. How are you?
Same, feeling a little bit rested today. So I'm excited about feeling rested at the end of the week. 'Cause
Yeah,
that means we're gonna be able to get busy on the weekend a little bit. I'm definitely gonna have some tacos and some tequila tonight for sure because I'm working over at the Benson Theater. And also shout out to Josh Tague, man. He hooked us up with some tickets to the Return of the Jedi Symphony that's
ooh,
happening in
nice,
Fallon on
nice.
Sunday. Definitely gonna check that out. Hang out with Lil Man a little bit on Saturday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a decent weekend. It's supposed to be warm, 70s, 80s. Showers here and there, but it's supposed to be nice. So I'm glad I got a little energy today to kind of make the weekend happen. So we'll see.
Man, definitely a good reason to get out there, y'all. Celebrate and enjoy the weather, man. But take care of yourselves and be good to each other. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the show.
Yep,
If
yep.
that's all right. Of course, again, as the show goes on, if you have anything on your hearts or your minds, feel free to drop that into the chat. If there's anything that you have going on, maybe save that a little later on, and we can work that into the haps, so it doesn't get lost within the chat. But yeah, in the meantime, in between time, let's go ahead and get this thing on the road. You said Brother Tony Johnson is the one who dropped this article on us. I want to start off with that, continuing to follow the money. Of course, we're still looking at what's going on with LB 1024 and some of the amendments that have been attached to it. And, still, there's still some steps before the funds actually do come to the community. But some people are chiming up about what's not happening. Some business owners in the area of North Omaha believe they were skipped over when millions of dollars in federal funds were made available to help maintain and grow businesses in the underserved areas. Of course, talking about Ames Avenue. Of course, there's a lot of plans, a lot of development already for 24th Street and also some things coming for 16th. But what about Ames? That stretch of road that goes all the way from 30th to 72nd Streets. It's a pretty good stretch, and a lot of businesses along that stretch, again, feel ignored. One in particular, Dewan Robinson, who sells clothing for men and women and children, he says that one of the problems he sees is getting customers to actually come to the area. So for some of the larger or even the smaller shops, he says it's not a game. Customers feeling more comfortable with working with small businesses that is not known. There used to be, or excuse me, they are used to going to big name places that already know to be here. So it's harder for small businesses to be established, and which
Mhm.
is interesting because when you think of Ames Avenue, there's a lot of houses along that stretch, a lot of people who work and live along that stretch. So to see that businesses are struggling to get traffic is very, very interesting. It's one of the main thoroughfares that go from north to West Omaha, or even up to 72nd, 90th area. So again, it's very, very interesting. But as you said, Paul, how do we have these conversations about community development, what's going on, and not really talk about Ames Avenue? And it's funny, but you think about it, we've been trying to follow the money and we've been talking about and following where the money is going. And the fact of the matter is, the money is not going to Ames Avenue. So we haven't talked about it, which is very interesting because again, I went to I went to North High, so a lot of time, and I just kind of grew up in that area. Like a lot of time was spent along North Omaha. Again, my mother still lives in kind of the northwest area, around 60th, 72nd, that area. So again, a lot of time spent on Ames Avenue. And when you think about it, a lot of business complexes. Again, a lot of opportunity. Think about those bays by Walmart. Those haven't been filled for a long time. I
Mhm.
mean, really, Julian is really just now, kind of developing what's going on at the Ames Avenue or at 30th and Ames Plaza. Think about all the way up to 72nd in Ames. How many different restaurants where, if y'all remember where Famous Dave's used to be, how many different restaurants have been through there? So,
They came there twice.
man, it's been like 5 different seafood
Rib
spots.
Shack. I mean, not Rib
Man,
Shack.
you know what I mean? So what is it about Ames? Because again, that 72nd, you would think that should be enough traffic to maintain business. So what is it about the Ames Avenue, and why hasn't there been really, because the 24th Street corridor is there an Ames Street corridor
I mean, I don't think so. I've never
or a
heard of that
BID?
before. Like I said, we never even talked about anything that has to do with anything on Ames. I'm sitting here thinking about it too, because I used to live pretty close, so I would take Ames every day, up and down past the school. I used to live right behind North High, so I would go up to Ames, and there's several car dealerships on Ames. There's
Man,
Hanks 2.0, a couple black restaurants over there now. There's whatever the business is there's 360 Hustle 365 was over there.
yeah,
There's a couple of hair salons over there, hair cutting joints. I think Young Bloods is on Ames. You know what I'm saying? And that's before you even get up to like the Walmart. And then of course
man,
the whole stretch between Walmart and 72nd. There's tons of business on there. And like Miss Erica Felder saying, is that you might as well call it Pothole Lane.
man.
Uh,
Jing.
they've tried to make it like a Sorensen, to where you're passing through there, but you got lights, you got stuff you can stop at, but people thunder through there as if it's like a Sorensen kind of highway, with only the high school being the place that anybody ever slows down, and that's only sometimes. It's what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course that corner you talked about, 30th and Ames. There was supposed to be new gas stations on certain corners. They cleared out one of those corners. A gas station never came. They talk about the food desert, but they forget about Phil's. That's right there. I don't know if it's called Phil's anymore, but there's a grocery store there that doesn't really get tapped too much. So there's and of course if there's ever should be a Tiff Alley, I feel like it should be Ames.
Ooh,
Ames should be Tiff Alley.
that's a word right there.
Uh, Tanaya Patterson, Miss Erica says it needs an aesthetic refresh. That too. But also just the kind of way it's laid out, man. Like you said, there's residential houses right there on the main drag. Somebody pulls into their house and you slowing up. I mean, they even was talking about trying to get rid of one of the lanes. Like, how would that be if there was only one lane there now, like they did on 30th?
Man.
Brother Knight in the chat, good morning. He says, sometimes it's about service or products, but primarily many black people refuse to spend their money with fellow black people unless they can get a discount or it's a liquor store. Big liquor store over there, too. Now I think about it. There's one that's been there for years.
Goodies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yep. I also said black people are just too trendy for products made by fellow black people to take off. Yeah, there's a lot. I think there's definitely that's some of it. There's definitely a lot more psychological going on there. Affordable advertising in the area also. I remember seeing noticing billboards on Ames. I noticed billboards on Ames more than I noticed billboards anywhere else in the city. So that's something. Also, he says affordable advertising. Yeah, that woman says because it's nicknamed Filthy Phil's, the entire street needs a power wash and paint. There's a DMV on Ames. People from outside the neighborhood could spend money if it attached them. The DMV that used to be down out there in Florence is now closed all the way down. In all those facilities are over there on Ames, and close to like 50th, 53rd or something like that.
60th actually.
No, it ain't that far up. It's right behind the gym, so it's around 54th. Where that gas station is at to get into it.
Across from Claire Memorial,
something like that. Yeah. So, and then the jobs where you get the job situations over there by the gym too. There's a gym on that. There's
Noah. It's right by Noah.
Noah, right? So a lot going on Ames for there to be no money synced into it. Vicky Young says Ames is not conducive to family engagement. No sit down restaurants or entertainment for families. I mean, what about Crab Shack?
And there's major parks. You got Fontenelle Park. You got Benson
Got a
Park.
golf course.
Come on, man.
Well, and don't let's not talk about the old Cleopatra's that's been 100 different uh, clubs and restaurants for
Mm-hmm.
the past 20 years. It's now what is it now? Pad Thai, the Thai
Yeah, yes,
restaurant.
it's a Thai restaurant.
Brother Knight said, yeah, that's another thing. The Indonesian and Latin communities don't spend money with the black businesses either. A lot of businesses closed down in that area, man. I remember there used to be a Godfather's right there above 60th.
Man, they used to be the Godfathers. Used to be a spot.
They
I
used
mean, but I think there is a point as far as like entertainment things to do around that area. I'm trying to think. There's not like a bounce house or movie theater or
yeah,
it's
nothing
mostly
like
restaurants and stores in that.
in homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a strange thoroughfare, but there could if you put some money into it, it could be shifted. There could be a shift.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of basically there's no if there were other businesses there, there's no real reason for the people in that area to leave that area.
Mm.
Elementary schools, high schools, parks, city services. It's all along Ames Avenue. So yeah, why is there not an investment? And again, does anybody know? Is there a Ames Avenue BID or corridor or
Well, Wanda Lewis is saying the city does have plans on renovating Fontenelle Pavilion sometime this year. So again, the city has plans. We talk about cities' plans all over the place, but very rarely hear about anything that has to do with Ames.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like Ames does need a lot of help. Ames is a stressful street to drive on at any point. It's
Especially
stressful. You don't
driving
even
into the
want to
sun?
stop it. You don't even want to stop somewhere and turn anywhere sometime. You know what I mean? Tonight, Pastor, they need to tear down that old Pizza Hut and laundromat behind it across from the old Godfathers. They need to tear. Yeah, that whole section needs to be revamped. Brother Knight says neighborhood associations in the area always protest the license of bars that may come to the area if those bars are owned by black people. One thing I did learn living over here in Benson, that whole area that whole area around the corner there. So at the top, close to 72nd, a lot of that area is considered Benson, which is the reason why Cleopatra's, that place always gets so much backlash. Because every time they have some kind of a club there, then people, the neighbors that consider themselves Bensonites complain and gets it shut down. And so when you think about, I keep on calling it Cleopatra's, but I know it was a ton of different other club names. For years, they would switch. It'd be a new one all the time for a while. But yeah, they consider themselves responsible for that park, the golf course. They consider that part of Benson, which is one of the reasons why we over here at Benson say Benson is the north side.
Man, did you see Miss Erica Phelps' comment? This is kind of interesting about the black caregiver. She says Fontenelle has been trashed ever since the black caregiver was fired for correcting a white person about their unleashed dog, and the white person complained to the city. Now there's glass and trash there.
What?
That's very interesting.
Fontenelle?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Fontenelle Park, especially the golf course. I used to golf. Like me and my father did a lot of golfing at that course, so I learned how to golf between
Smash
there
the white ball.
and Steve Hogan course.
Wow.
And it
Brother
used to be
Nathan-
one of the nicer parks in the city.
Wow. Brother Knight says neighborhood associations in that. Okay, we already said that. Amy H. Dot says we have to look at what Lance Morgan did for Winnebago Tribe. Ho Chunk Inc. should serve as a case study. Yeah, I definitely would like to dig more into Ho Chunk. Their name is ringing out everywhere. Wanda Lewis says the Asian population is moving forward on the south side of the strip from 58th to 60th. Definitely see that. As a matter of fact, like I said, that's kind of my area right there. I shoot out 60th from military to Ames to do everything I got to do. My storage units over there, you know what I'm saying? I go to the auto parts store there, and there's an Asian store that's right next to the auto parts store, a restaurant that's being built next to it, and right on the corner of Ames and 60th on the north side, that was some kind of tire shop before. Now it's an Asian owned car repair shop. So there's a lot of business happening there, and I do see a lot of people, a lot of people from a lot of brothers from the Asian descent that are crossing the street there all the time, walking around there all the time, opening up City Trends right there on 60th. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a lot of movement when it comes to the Asian community right there between like she's saying 58th and 60th for sure. So how just interesting to see, man. I just all this time that we talk about following the money and all this money that goes into certain things, I don't think we ever talked about any funds going to, except for when they built the Walmart, but that was kind of before the mine and sold days, so we weren't even talking about it yet. At that time. So interesting. Miss Erica Fell says, "Oh yeah, Keno King. Thank you. I was trying to think what one of the other club names was over there. Cleopatra's was old school. Keno Kings was one of the more recent ones.
Yeah,
and then of course, and then I don't want to talk about Ames without mentioning the Catfish Corner because we were very upset about that spot closing down, but there wasn't enough people that chimed up about it, and they went out of business, and that was like a pretty majorly black owned restaurant for us right there.
Man, is Get and Go still open over there?
Get and Go is down on 24th. They're nowhere near Ames. They're down on 24th, closer to Hamilton. So yeah, interesting stuff. I appreciate you bringing that up. Ms. Circafel says that gentleman's name was Chad. He was the caregiver at Miller Park and then was transferred to Fontenelle. The incident was last year. Kind of vaguely remember that. Yes, Vicky Young. That's the other one. I was thinking about that. Joe Tess was there. I remember Joe Tess being there when I used to come here back in the day, back in the 90s. Brother Knight says one thing about the immigrants: show know how to come in and set up shop.
Oh yeah, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I wanted to point out before we move on, though, Paul, you mentioned the relationship between the Ames Avenue and Benson and how it's viewed. According to this WOWT report, Omaha city officials actually told Channel 6 that there was a coalition in the early 2000s to pair Benson and Ames Avenue for development, but for some reason that coalition fell apart. So that's very interesting. How it's viewed and just some of the politics.
I'm definitely involved with the neighborhood association here, Benson Improvement District here, and also now Benson is they call downtown Benson is now deemed a creative district. So I'm hitting all these meetings and I'm trying to peep out what's going on because it's all business owners and people that are doing stuff on the strip and around the way and homeowners around the area. Haven't yet to hear about anything that's going on from 60th Ames up to 72nd, even though they're talking about that's what's up. Yeah, Benson Ames Alliance is what Justin Wayne was. Oh, you came on. That's what's up. Good morning, Benson Ames Alliance. Okay. It's interesting. We need to kind of follow up and see what's going on there.
Yeah, is that a thing, or was that the name of the attempted coalition? Senator Wayne.
Yeah. Tony Johnson said the trend seems to be we do a lot support or chime up when people take over North Omaha. Very true. So I appreciate all your comments and all your thoughts on these things. This is kind of the first time we really have gotten into a deep dive on what's going on with Ames. Which, like I said, really needs to be the real Tiff Alley. Wanda Lewis says the young man that opened this ice cream shop last year is no longer there. Remember that young man that what was he, 14, 15, 16? Opened that ice cream shop, used to work for Trishana.
Yeah.
He says I believe the winter took them out of the market, so he couldn't sustain there. So even with all that fanfare, even with him being in the newspaper, the whole thing, we went a few times, couldn't last there. It's hard to last on Ames, bro. So we'll continue to talk about this area because, of course, it's a major part of our neighborhoods, and like I said, we have barely talked about it. So
I do think it's worth talking because now that I'm thinking about it more from even the recommendations for LB 1024, I do feel like most of them were on the 24th and 16th area. I didn't really see many proposals for businesses along Ames Avenue. So, definitely got to talk about that more, give them some shine.
Yeah. One last comment here. I'll say, two more comments. That Ms. Erkenfeld says it would be nice to see preemptive community work into it. Otherwise, it's truly prime for gentrification as you see it inching closer.
Yep.
just reminded me about my cousin Terrace's restaurant around the corner too. That was right off of Ames as well.
Yeah.
That didn't last. Terry Cropper said, historically speaking, the Asian demographic has been redlined away from the white community and are provided financial incentives to set up shop in black communities. The land is cheaper. Financial packages are offered, and small business loans are more reasonable than for black businesses in some areas. Interesting. I'd like to see some stuff on that. Brother Wayne says that was the coalition. Then Benson did not like some of the owners, Black Burger King owner and more. So they started Benson Improvement District, BID. I'm just getting familiarizing myself with them, which allows for special tax assessment. And they use those dollars along with Omaha City Capital Construction Improvement Program, CIP. All of Benson's sidewalks, storefronts, and more were rehab.
Yep.
Wow.
Man, that's crazy. I used to, actually that Burger King was my first job. Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, right there in 60 Ames. That was my first job.
And I didn't know that was black owned at one point.
Yes.
It's still
is. I believe.
Oh, that's what's up. Okay. So that's been lasting. And of course our friends over at Abelardo's is thriving right there on Ames as well.
Yeah.
On one of the only 24-hour spots in the area. So as you can see, lots to talk about here. Juana Lewis businesses doesn't seem to survive the restaurant by Bakers and 72nd and Ames. That's the one we were talking about. They're not there for very long, and the rent is high as well. So I remember Tim Clark had a venture over there for a little minute. That's the one that the Famous Days was there like twice.
Mm-hmm.
There's I think it's like the crab shack or something like that over there now. Yeah. So that I always wondered about that, man. It's a full on restaurant. They got a deck that you can look out on the park and the golf course.
Man, like it's
playing jazz on that deck. You know,
man, it's not a bad spot. Not a bad spot, but
yeah,
I don't know. Not to mention the whole plaza by the theater. A little further up on 72nd.
I don't understand how that theater stay in the business at all, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, I think they're about to close, but just the shops by it have never been. I think it was like a Radio Shack, and that's about it. Like,
yeah. Well, I was part of a couple of businesses that tried to get that, and they were the prices were so high and they wouldn't come down, and they actually told us they would rather keep those things vacant than and be able to choose who they want in them. That's why those new buildings that are in front of Target and all that, and they have been vacant for a minute. There's like an Army recruiting thing there. Radio Shack was there till it closed down, and if you think about it, a bunch of them right there. In between the food and in between Target and them, there's a whole row of vacant places that's been vacant since they were bought. Yeah, Mouth of the South was over there at that restaurant. Didn't last very long. I forgot Mouth of the South went there. They only lasted like a year. So it's interesting. Like that whole area is really, what's there. If you want to really take it a step further too, what's happening on Sorensen? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of businesses, a lot of places happening on Sorensen as well. And it could be one of those kind of thoroughfares where you can have a bunch of businesses, there's a bunch of like mini malls and stuff like that there, churches there, storage facilities being built there. So, I mean, there's a whole kind of area of North Omaha still that is ripe for development for all kinds of different things, or just put some money in it to change it around and make it be something a place.
I think because the only real development that's happening really in that kind of North Omaha corner is Habitat for Humanity building that new development where the Mayans used to be. But very interesting. But big shout out to everybody chiming in on that. We'll definitely have to. That'll kind of be another evergreen topic that we'll be looking at as development. Hopefully, continues to come into North Omaha. Definitely. Big shout out to all the business owners still surviving in that area. What you thinking, Paul? You want to move along?
Well, it's 7:44 right now. I already see brother senators are going to be on here in just about a minute. They're already in the chat chiming up, so that's what's up. For those of you that don't know, it is legislative day for us here at First Sky Omaha, and we will have brother senators Terrell, McKinney, and Justin Wayne on in a few. and we'll be talking to them about what's going on, what's been happening this week, which is a lot of haps going on.
Man.
Speaking of haps, we will have an extensive haps a little later on in the show as well. And we will return to these topics that we're talking about and try to get some of these stories together as well. So, in the meantime, between time 7:45, if you believe in the concept of time, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and jump back into some stories until the brothers senators come on. So stay tuned for that. Once again, you're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the DS.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Chad Chimers,
Hey.
those listeners, radio listeners, it's going down. Stay tuned. Here we go. Let's try this one. What are we doing? Coffee, sniffing the coffee beans. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, y'all. Yo, good morning. Welcome back. First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the DS.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Chad Chimers, Ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us. It is Cinco de Mayo, man, 5th of May, 2023. In the Diaz. And it's happening right here on a Friday. And you know what that means for us? Brothers Senators Terrell, McKinney, and Justin Wayne, put some respect on their names, are here with us, waiting in the wings. We're going to bring them on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the dynamic duo. What's going on, fellas?
Hey.
Not much. How y'all doing?
Good.
All right, man.
Good.
Top of the morning, gents.
I'll be fine. And whenever I get on the show, I start coughing. I don't know.
Be like that sometimes.
What's going on with you? I heard y'all had a little fun last night. Y'all got a little chance to decompress a little bit. What's going on?
I had to take Senator McKinney out last night. He was going to say some things on the mic yesterday that would not have went well.
Got it.
So I had to decompress a little bit, huh?
You ready to jump over that table again, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Ready to flip some chairs and some furniture, huh?
Furniture moving around there.
Man. So what's the word, man? What's going on? How's the last week been? Any victories you can report, or where do we stand?
Well, we had a victory on the budget with the my PTSD bill. We snuck it in for $5 million per year. I gotta bring an amendment to tighten it up. But
I'm sorry. You said was that with a B or M? Was
$5 million with the M?
Oh, okay.
You got $5 trillion for PTSD,
man. Okay.
Actually, with Senator McKinney really talking on the bill, I was working the floor and he was giving some passionate testimony about kids that he represent and what they go through. And it turned a lot of heads for people not to understand that for many kids, it's like us living in a war zone. So we ought to treat it as such.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's what's up. They can relate to that. A lot of military cats in the room probably. Well, that's what's up, man. I'm glad there was some progress there. We were getting nervous because we know there's only a few days left happening out here. I've been seeing stuff. I didn't see any articles around, but I've been seeing people's posts. Have y'all been filibustering? Is that what's going on? You were threatening to?
I wouldn't say we've been filibustering. We've just been trying to get things attached to the budget because one, we only had a day to look at the budget before it came to the floor. Two, the Appropriations Committee voted to support the construction of the prison. So we've been trying to get things attached to the budget to hold the Department of Punitive Services accountable and make sure that they complete classification studies, study what type of programming is needed for the prison and everything like that. And also, we were able to get something attached that would be helpful for nonprofits and organizations that do a lot of reentry work because as of now, they're requiring them to request a reimbursement for their services, and it was supposed to be a grant. So we were able to get something attached that says no, it's a grant. It shouldn't be a reimbursement. And
Mm.
so yeah, that's the fight. But yesterday I was trying to get something attached to make them do the classification study and things like that, and it just was going back and forth with people. They asked me to take language out to demolish NSP because now they don't want to close NSP.
Mm.
So it's crazy. It's just
Yeah,
frustrating.
that was their whole argument that they needed a bigger space, and so they were going to close that down so it didn't get. And now, of course, they went back on that. I knew that was going to come
So really, it's 3 prisons because they're keeping NSP, building one, and going to build another.
Pretty much.
with no reform, just
And
building.
and let me ask. So you're saying that you're making attachments to the budget. So a lot of the changes or a lot of the victories, they're financial, not really getting any like bills or any laws as far as prison reform. Is that am I hearing correctly?
We are working on prison reform. It's an
Okay.
interesting time right now.
Okay.
Our big roadblock is the county attorneys. We got law enforcement moving in the right direction. We got what I would call boots on the ground, like sheriffs. They're moving in the right direction. Our big hang up right now is the county attorneys. And one of the sticking points we have is called residue. Residue. So right now, if you got a pipe or something and nothing's on it, it's just paraphernalia. That's a $35 fine. But if there is a speck, a non-usable amount of drugs, it's actually a felony. So even though you can't use it, it's a felony. Now here's the crazy part. Douglas County and Lancaster don't even charge it. Like they're just like, we ain't paying us $800 to test this on the hope that we can find something. Because many of the residue cases come back as inconclusive because it's too small of an amount to even test. So we lowered it down to 0.1 grams, which means a non-usable. You can't use it. And we came up with the 0.1 with law enforcement because that's the variance on a scale. So you think about electronic scale. So you don't know if there's any or not because it's the variance. And right now the county attorneys are like, nope, we're taking a hard line. And actually, this is more of a Western Nebraska issue. But at the end of the day, it's still an issue that we need to stop that.
That goes right to your theory, Paul. Goes right to your theory as far as Nebraska being the state in between Colorado, Missouri, Kansas, and West Nebraska's right there by Colorado. They just trying to catch them.
They're trying to make that money catching them, man, driving through. And I think we'll be. I don't know. I ain't gonna say. I see. Now I'm hesitating saying that when I got the senators right here. I usually say we're gonna be the last state to legalize it. It's just not gonna happen. But I know that you guys have been on some of the forefront on pushing some of those things as well. So we don't even got medical here, which I think is a trip. So yeah. So anyway, this is blowing my mind that there's when you said residue, I was like, yeah, like residue like in a pipe, and then I was, oh, you mean like residue in a pipe, like for real? That's what you really talking about here. That's crazy that you had to figure out this 0.1 in the whole thing, like.
Man, so what's the charge that comes with that felony?
It's a possession of a controlled substance, and it's a class 4 felony. And again, if you talk to Omaha and Lincoln, they're like, we ain't got time for this. Like this, like
right.
Like yeah. And so
I mean, no wonder the state is full of the prisons are like busting at the seams. They locking people up for a speck.
For a non-usable amount.
A non-usable amount.
And their theory is, well, you must have used it before. And I'm like, not necessarily. What if you just picked it up? Or what if you bought something, right? And here's the crazy part. You bought like a paraphernalia, and they didn't come arrest you. You charged with a class 4 felony. The test come back and says, no, that's not it. So now you don't sat in prison, you don't lost your job, for a non-usable amount.
Clean your pipes. Perfect. Don Klein, Mr. Eric Phelps says Don Klein being one. That's a problem. I'm assuming based on his history. Don Klein been in holding things up on that. And speaking of people holding things up, we was kind of looking at some of them prison votes, and it seemed like some of the quote unquote allies was voting for the prisons. What Did I see that right?
Well, I know Tony Vargas' name was on there.
The whole appropriations committee voted for the prison, so that should tell you.
the
It was
whole?
unanimous.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate and unexpected. I got some questions and concerns. Brother Vargas, especially, he's a friend of the show, so I'd like to ask him kind of directly, like, what was your thought process behind that vote?
Well, what
I
they're
know.
going to say is that they're leaning on me and to come up with some prison reform, and I'm doing my best, but your people's vote are people's vote.
Right, right. Um, I do want to throw a story in there while we're talking about this. Of course, this is a story that we've been kind of sitting on for a couple of days, actually. As far as this shooting that happened in the prisons, the 200
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
projectiles that were shot into the inmate. Have y'all heard this story? Have y'all? I know y'all working. So.
Yeah, I heard about it. It's crazy, and when you read through what happened, it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Chris Baby Boy Bowling of the Reader, who's doing some reporting on the story as well. And he's mentioned that again, the inmate actually had to catch the inspector general during a tour of a prison. Like it wasn't reported by anybody. Again, this is an inmate who was shot 200 times, projectiles still in the skin, bruises a month even after the event. Again, this is from Chris Baby Boy Bowling. But again, this apparently wasn't the first time. The inspector general is not really doing much. So I'm bringing all this up to say, like, we've been talking about mental health. You got this PTSD bill. What about mental health, or what um reforms are you pushing for, or are you prioritizing? Because there's a lot. I mean, but what's on
So
top of the
yeah,
list?
so there's a couple of them that we're working on. I mean, so that's just the residue is just one piece of a massive bill, but we're also trying to make sure on the back end nobody's getting released without having some kind of supervision and programming
Right,
to
right.
make sure they're successful. So what we did in 2015 is we made our class threes and four felonies, which are lower felonies. All of them have some kind of supervision, some kind of program when you get out. But our most violent and our most what I would call heinous crimes are class ones and twos. You just jam out. So now we just seeing people who at the end of their sentence wake up and they look around and like, I'm out, and just go back to the community without any supervision, any programming. And so now we're arguing about what actually we're not arguing, we have a good discussion about what that back end looks like. And for us, it's like if you're doing a hard sentence, you need 2 to 3 years, if not 4 years, to work your way back into society. Like we shouldn't just like turn you over, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you do 20 years. You ain't gonna know anybody when you get out. You go, I
Right.
mean, so we're trying to have that conversation. The issue is some of the law enforcement, some of the county attorneys don't trust how the supervision and how the programming is going. But I can't solve that issue. So one way, well, I can't solve them all. One of the ways we're trying to solve it is my bill 348. It's a kind of community treatment centers, and then I combined it with McDonald's bill, who had the prison kind of overseeing it. So now we're creating this program with both parole and the prison system, saying, all right, we're gonna have halfway houses, and we're gonna make sure when people start transitioning, they got a job and they're out in the community and they're being monitored before the end of their sentence. So we're giving the corrections and parole 2 years to create all the programming and send an RFP out to nonprofits who are out here doing reentry to create these halfway houses and these programs. And so those are moving along. It's just how do I say it? The fear of the one, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
always the fear of the one, that one person. But what
Right.
Senator McKinney and I have been doing for the last 2 weeks is we've been flipping the fear of the one, saying, well, if y'all don't do this, y'all responsible for the next Nico Jenkins. Y'all
Right.
you forgot about that one, the one who gets out and kills or murders or sexually assaults somebody because we didn't put no programming in place.
He
We just
just jammed out.
yeah. So
So
that's been
you
the conversation now. We kind of flip the
mm,
fear of the one, saying, "Oh, the fear of the one isn't the person being out supervised. The fear of the one is the folks we letting out right now who are not supervised."
And
man.
that's more than one.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just kick somebody out and just institutionalize and expect them to. It's the same for the military. I mean, people get out of the military and they have a hard time adjusting to civilian life. Like their needs, kind of drawing that comparison of PTSD. But
Yeah.
I am kind of
I ain't
curious.
gonna speak, I ain't gonna speak for McKinney, but he's making a lot of progress on his parole board. Making
Nice.
sure that they diversify their parole board, have somebody who's been incarcerated on there.
Good. That's good. I was going to ask you about that too, because last we talked about the parole board. They wasn't even really showing up. So
Right.
what progress have you been making progress on getting them to come to work, let alone the diversity?
Making progress as far as getting the committee to understand that a change needs to happen. I just have to clean up some things in the amendment due to like some bill draft and stuff, and I'm going to make a change on it. So initially in the bill it said they can't miss 3 hearings, but 3 hearings could be 3 people showing up one day because each person that goes before them is a hearing. So I'm going to adjust it and say that they can miss a hearing a month, a full day of hearing a month. So that's 12 meetings a year, which is about 10% of the meetings they have over a year. So
Okay.
I think that's a fair compromise. So see how it goes. I talked to one of the senators that was pushing back about the restrictions on missing a hearing, and he was like he was cool with it. So I'm just gonna make that change.
Okay.
I do.
Did any of y'all just when he said I'm gonna make a change, just think you're gonna make a change?
Hey.
Got that man. That man.
Man.
Yo, and it's funny, but normally if anybody else come on talking about I'm gonna make this change, I'll be like, yeah, how you gonna do that? But when McKinney say, I just be like, okay, yeah, you gonna make the change. That's
Yeah, I mean, we see you fighting for it. We definitely see you fighting. But I am curious as far as with the prison reform, some of the programs, how much of the community or how much community oversight is there involved in this conversation? I know you mentioned some of the county attorneys are pushing back as far as who's kind of overseeing some of these programs. Has there been talk about community oversight or community review boards or any community input as far as reform goes?
So right now we kind of working just on the bills itself, but from the community side, we're trying to establish a process with parole and Department of Corrections to say you got to get out in the community and start having reentry. And so Terrell's been pushing that, and actually last year I think you set aside some money, so Senator McKinney can talk more about that.
Yeah, we set aside 15 million over 3 years, and then appropriations re-upped it, and then act like they was actually doing something on reentry. I was like, no, 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 we did that last year. Y'all.
you're bringing up old stuff.
Man,
But just trying to bring it to the top of conversation because most 90% of people that are in prison are going to be released back into the community. That's a fact. So if we're not doing things around reentry and making sure that we're preparing them before they get out and after they get out, we're just gonna have a revolving door. And I was just frustrated with them. It's like, how did y'all not prioritize any of these things, but y'all voted for a prison? And then looking at us in our face with the little teary eye that, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot. Like, no, how
how
do you
you
forget?
forget? How you
Yeah.
forget? Man, so what is that 15 million? Like, what does that go to? So 15 million over 3 years, is that so? That's 5 million a year.
It goes to like reentry programming for organizations that do work inside and outside of the prisons, also some transitional housing stuff.
Okay.
I've been working closely with. Shout out to Diane Good Collins is running the MC's Metropolitan Community College reentry program. We're going to do some documentary film work with her on that subject, and she's a former prison resident, and that really makes a big difference because she knows what people are going through and really been trying to help them get turned around. I've been watching her kind of single handedly change some things around, but I've learned a lot about that situation. I want to jump into the chat real quick and then ask a question. Ms. Erica Feld says they need basic acclimation, like how email and cell phones work.
Man,
Folks come out and can't figure out how they can catch a taxi and don't know what a Lyft is. They don't know how to use debit cards. I mean, it depends on how long they're in, but yeah, that's I've seen that happen too. I've talked to folks that been in before the internet that were coming out and didn't really know how to even go search for a job on the internet or anything too. She says, imagine a world functioning around you, but you don't understand what everyone is doing. They feel even further detached from society instead of included to want to be better. Also, the thing that stands out in my mind, too, is they're coming back to live next to you. Wouldn't you want them to be acclimated to the neighborhood and have some skills and have some support? and not be a person that is you might end up back and have to resort to some things that might end up back. So lots there. Really understand that. Who my question is, who else is pushing for any of these things? I'm only seeing you two. Do you have some help, some support in the legislature, outside of the legislature? Is there other people that we can talk to that are, besides like the reentry program people, but what you're trying to do right now with the budgets and the laws? Are you receiving any help there? Is it only you two fighting for this?
Not
What you
necessarily. There's
smiling
other
about, Justin? I see you smiling, man.
He
there's
try to
other
hold it back. He try to
I'm,
hold it back.
I'm seeing how McKinney gonna behave this morning. That's all.
there's other senators that have stood up in support, but overall, no, it's not a lot of support, and that's from both sides. To keep it real,
Okay,
and
so
it it's really it's not. I won't say eye opening because I'm not surprised. I walked into it knowing there's no political will to stand up and fight for changes within the criminal justice system from
Hmm.
both sides. The sad part is that a lot of people that have been hitting us up over the session about telling us to support things and this type of stuff, I would guarantee, and I could guarantee, I'm almost assuming a guarantee that they haven't hit up those senators that voted to support the prison and all those things and told them to help us or support us like
mhm,
they was doing to us when that we were talking about the school scholarship stuff and things like that.
mm,
But people don't keep the same advocacy energy when
mm.
it comes to the stuff we're advocating for, but they'll blow us up all night trying to get us not to support something that we think could help our community.
Mm.
Interesting. Speaking of some of that support on other topics, Mama God in the chat is saying, Senator McKinney, it looks like you voted no for LB 626. I'm confused. What did the bill actually try to legislate?
That was an abortion bill.
So that was that they were trying to make that 12-week thing happen. Was that bill
Six
that
weeks.
6 weeks? You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you voted no for that 6 week thing, right?
Yes. Personally, I don't think we should be voting on it anyway. And as a man, I don't think it's my position to try to tell women what to do with their bodies and things like that.
Mama God, if you got any more questions, let us know on that one. We'll leave it there. Tony Johnson 12 says, "How would you make sure these non-effective nonprofits don't try to be a reentry program just for the money? Is there any checks and balances there?"
I mean,
We're
yeah.
trying
So
to work
go
that
ahead.
in, and it'll be some reporting mechanisms. But the truth of it is, reentry work is not popular. Most of the organizations, it's only you could probably count on your hand 5 organizations that actually do it.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch.
Mm.
I'm excited about reentry, but I guess it's because of my experience with Diane Good Collins over there at MCC. But I'm excited about reentry. Like we usually get people that are excited about getting out, coming back, and really, if you can catch them in a situation where you can give them a good direction, that it's pretty exciting for them to come out. They want to learn new things, learn new skills, get some help. I don't really see why that's so underfunded and so under
Well,
utilized.
that was actually kind of my question. Because again, you mentioned that have people reached out to senators to find out why they're voting things, and I know you're in conversation. Like, have you asked, the Tony Vargases and other senators why they voted the way they did on this, or what are some of the reasonings that you're hearing? Is it just kind of the same tough on crime rhetoric, or something else?
No, it's the appropriations committee does this every year where they vote on a bunch of things that aren't, widely, liked by the body and say, oh, we can't mess with the budget. We made deals within the committee. We
Mm,
can't mess up the budget. That's
mm,
what they say.
mm. And like you said, you all had one day to look at that budget, and I saw posts where that said the budget was a mess. So I don't. So how can people even assess that? I think they had their mind made up already.
Actually, let's get into that a little bit because I did want to talk about that. I know Senator McKinney, you mentioned that looking at how the state appropriates the budget, that kind of gives you your report card or your view of what the state prioritizes. What were your feelings coming out of the budget discussions? What was kind of some of the major key items on the budget? What is the budget? Where we stand as a state?
Uh, Major key items. I mean, they're going to build a canal for about $600 million.
So it's coming. Okay.
Yes, going to build a prison. That's going to be like 350. There's money set aside for like an education future fund, which is like $1 billion going into education. Um, I forgot what else is in there. It's
Oh,
some other
he's
things
gets a
too.
big chunk.
They put 240 million for the economic recovery into the budget, and we got to fight for the rest on the floor.
Mm.
Uh, Justin probably can tell you more out what
So
I'm missing.
here's how I look at our budget. Our budget is our moral document, and what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is that it's easy to vote for stuff that don't require any money, but when you put money behind it, you're saying this is important to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we get a green sheet every day, so every time we move a bill or pass a bill that affects our budget, going forward, we got this green sheet every morning we go in. Right now, our green sheet says that our total budget is we over budgeted or overspending right now for a little over 554 million. So if you think about that, we got to go through right now the bills on the floor and the bills in this budget and cut out 554 of our expenses, and or we got to reduce or increase our revenue. So we either got to lower the tax package or something like that that's going on. So when you put that in perspective, we already negative, and if we already negative, we got money for North Omaha sitting on the floor. All hands are on deck. We got to protect it, and not only protect it, we trying to increase it to get more money. So I mean, the $5 million we put in the budget for PTSD. I mean, I only got 27 votes, and that was 27 votes of hey, we trust Justin. We're gonna see how this goes. But now on select file, they might take it out because
Mm.
they start making cuts, and so this budget is interesting because we got 2.5 million going to a wall, a memorial for Navy people who died in Vietnam. Not saying I'm against that, but we also gave them 1.2 million last year. And what happened was a donor fell through or pulled out, so the state's gonna come in and pick it up.
Mm.
Uh, 2.5, and I'm asking for 5 to help out children who suffer from PTSD from gun violence. We got 30 million going down into Creighton right now, either Creighton right next to Creighton. And I actually this kind of makes sense to me because we're talking about redoing some softball fields and some baseball fields down by Creighton. Because to make sure we lock in the College World Series right now, they kind of the teams who are there have to practice at some of the high schools, and so it's more like a practice field. And then their health science centers, they got a dental clinic that serves North Omaha and things like that. So
Mm.
that one I'm not so much worried about. But we're also doing another 60 million across the state to nonprofits. It's called Shovel Ready. Last year, when we did 2 years ago, we did this program. It was because of ARPA. Now we're just doing it to give more nonprofits some money. And what's interesting about Shovel Ready is there's only one North Omaha group that applied. It was a quick kind of sneaky application, and Ralston got 12 soccer fields out of it. And
Man.
so and that was 12 million. So 12 million we gave Ralston for some soccer fields. And so that's why this budget is so important, because it isn't where the initial dollars are going, it's where they go to the agency and where they go from there. And it's like you said earlier, you got to follow the money. And so we've been trying to figure out, how to keep pushing for our little things that we're pushing for. One of the things that last weekend, Senator McKinney and I went out to Fort Robinson. We was joking about riding dirty. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Fort Robinson has the Black Buffalo Soldiers. That's where they trained at. That was our first military. Actually, Nebraska has a kind of unique and rich history when it comes to Black folks. And so we went out there because we're advocating for $40 million to go out there to redo Fort Robinson and the Buffalo Soldiers and create better to save our history and preserve our history. And so we were joking about, man, in fact, all of us, we need to take a trip out there. It's a 7-hour drive, but it's some of the most beautiful areas that you'll ever see. So we were sitting up on the bluff watching the sun go down, and Terrell got teary eyed. It was like one of them moments in the movie. He wasn't teary eyed. I was giving him a hard time. But so just like all that kind of factors in to our budget. Like I got to go find. Well, we found 3 million for Mayhew Cabin down in Nebraska City. To me, that's Black culture, and we got to save
Mm-hmm.
the Underground Railroad. But it's all of those. I mean, it's a $10 billion budget.
Okay.
Yeah. What support on that? Anybody you probably get less pushback on stuff like that, right?
No, I mean so we took the appropriations chair and a whole bunch of conservative senators out to Fort Robinson,
Right.
and we were walking, doing a little walking tour, and I'm selling them our vision, and they started kind of shaking their head, and then I asked the question, I said, how many visitors come through here right now? And the guy was like 600,000. I said, now what if we double that? What kind of impact would that have to this community out here and to the state? And they started looking at the numbers, and they're like, this Negro's right.
Like,
We can make the state can make some money out here. This might be a good thing.
one smart Negro right there.
If it's making dollars and cents, if it's making dollars and cents, you
Hey,
know.
Cameron Snipes in the chat says the table staff is traveling out there next year for a DEI retreat, so we are already coming. So
Okay. So
yeah.
So let me
It's
ask you, Senator McKinney, like, what was your take on it? You know, Senator Wayne giving you a hard time, but was that your first time out there? Like, what was the experience for you?
It was great to get away from Omaha and Lincoln, to be honest, and just decompress. But it was great to go out there and see some history that I really didn't know. Looking at the Buffalo Soldiers and trying to and just getting a better understanding of that history and trying to find a way to like educate more people about it. I enjoyed it. It was also they got a whole museum with a whole mammoth skeleton in there. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they got stuff where Crazy Bear was killed. I mean, Crazy Horse was killed. So it's a lot of stuff out there that if you don't know, you don't know, and I don't think we do a good job of advertising it.
I like that idea of when I think about driving 8 hours into Nebraska, I'm not thinking about catching nothing that is related to me. So I like this idea that we can go that far out somewhere and see our history, see something that's going on with us.
So part of the Native history out there is that's they had the Red Cloud Agency that was part of the Native Wars. They actually brought the Buffalo Soldiers out there to train. Every quarter horse was trained out there. So there's this when you look around, you just sit there and say, how is there 10,000 horses out here? And actually during World War II, that's where the prison camp, POW camp for Germans was out there.
Wow.
And so they got a part out there that says Crazy Horse died here. And it's just like Buffalo Soldiers was here, and they got these old barracks you get to walk in, and actually you get to sleep in the quarters of the. Now I got to sleep in the nice quarters. Terrell was
Had a rough
Terrell was
time.
in the not so nice quarters, but you get this. It's like you go back in time, man, and you sit there, you look around and say, Black folks had to travel from down south and come all the way here to enlist in the army and become a soldier, and they didn't have a car. And then you put that in perspective of where we are today, and it's like some of the things we complain about.
Man,
we got to man up and just get some stuff done.
Take it for granted. Hey, as far as moving around, yeah, that's a big point. I'm kind of curious. Can you like briefly break down a little of the history of the Buffalo Soldiers in that area? Like who were the Buffalo Soldiers? Why is that significant?
So the Buffalo Soldiers, the 9th and 10th Cavalry, they were basically the first when we were still segregated. They were the first soldiers in the army back in like 1866, and so they came out here. They were both in Fort Niobrara, which is about Valentine, and in Fort Robinson, and so they were actually used to keep the Native Americans, the Indians, kind of at bay. So they were the critical in the Indian Wars to make sure that they held the line. And Fort Robinson, because you got Pine Ridge and a couple other things right there that were all part of that.
Peace to Pine Ridge.
So the fighting 10th Cavalry was basically that regiment that saved America. When you think about the Civil War, the reason why Black folks got enlisted anyway was because Frederick Douglass had a conversation with Lincoln, and the real reason was Frederick Douglass views it as, if we're fighting for our country and we're dying for our country, it's a lot harder for white folks to look at us and say, we're not human, because we're next to their loved ones fighting for the country. And Lincoln saw this is the only way that we could win the war is by enlisting these 200,000 African Americans. So that's where it started during the Civil War. And then it expanded to this Buffalo Soldier becoming the all Black regime. And they held it down out there. And it's it's just amazing to go back in time and see that, and just and there's fishing. It's just everything out there for us to go out there and spend 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to raise some money we're going to do a North Omaha trip. We're gonna go down and hit the Mayhew cabin, and then we're gonna head west for 8 hours, and we just gonna stay out there and go back in time.
And then he tried to get me to jump out the truck to go touch some buffaloes.
Oh. You're not gonna be out there with the majestic beasts.
Hey, so we pull right up on the buffalo, and I'm like, hey, bro, hop out and just pet it.
Dog.
Oh man, Paul, beast of the field, beast of the field.
Mr. Erica Feld is asking, is there hotel? That's my question too. Is there a hotel out there?
No, you sleep in the old quarters, in the barracks, and I mean, I slept in like lieutenant. I mean, it was nice. It had, you know, it had all the working bathrooms and that. No, I'm not saying they all been remodeled, so they cool. You can sleep out there. It's actually pretty cool, and it's really cheap. So I think it's a trip we got to do.
Man, so as far as the investment, what are you trying to bring out there? What are you trying to add?
So we trying to upgrade, add some more of these barracks, build some more things out there, more history around there, and specifically around Buffalo soldiers. I think we need to do what they call interpretation, where the museum kind of does more and bring more history out there. Actually, LaVon Stennis Williams brought it to my attention last year. She did a big thing at her spot, and so just that in general, I think it's one of the most underutilized and unknown about areas. And so I want to make sure that before we talk about we need to travel to Minnesota and travel to go camping somewhere else, or we want to go down south to learn about our Black history, sometimes we have it right here in our backyard.
Man, we like to see like a Buffalo Soldier reenactment. You know, they do a lot of Civil War and, you know, Revolutionary War reenactments. Be nice to have a Buffalo Soldier one, unless they already do that.
I like the idea of bringing that energy back to Omaha, and you know, just the kind of pioneer. We need a little bit of that pioneer kind of frontier, holding things down kind of energy. So to go there and get inspired, bring that back to Omaha and make some things happen sounds like a good thing. Sounds like something we need.
Might need to mention that to Brother Kasim and the BAA. Bring some of the young men out there. Buffalo
Soldier training in the BAA land. Let's see what's happening. So it is 8:22 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, appreciate you guys breaking down what, you know, some of the positives there, and hopefully there will be some funding for that. And you look like you drumming up some interest here. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna go down because I don't know about the barracks and stuff, but
it's modernized, man. You got now there is no TVs, but you got cell phone coverage. So your cell phone's good, but there's no TVs. But the barracks, I mean, they're reproduction, so it looked like, well, some of them are still real, but they've been modernized. You ain't walking into like sleeping on a cot on the floor. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm imagining right there. Buffalo right outside the door, like, let me in. It's cold out here.
Man, it's cold.
Hey, the buffalo right around the corner though. Yeah, it's for
real. Okay.
Kimber Snipes says, I'm definitely interested in learning more about the Black history in Nebraska. Being adopted, I found out that my people actually go back to my great-grandfather being from Hastings, Nebraska. We talked about the descendants of DeWitty. We're getting ready to do some stuff with them over at the Benson Theater. I mean, there's a lot of history around here that we can really glean from. And like I say, take that energy back to Omaha and realize that we supposed to be here too. Here too. You know what I mean?
Then the crazy thing is, on our way back, Justin was researching different forts where people were held at, and there was a fort called Fort Lisa that was in North Omaha that potentially held enslaved Africans.
Wow!
And we're trying to figure out more about that.
Wow,
man,
that's something else. That's dope. We're gonna get let you guys get on about your days though, but before you guys go, let us know about what it is that we need to be looking out for, supporting, helping. What's coming up next? What's top of mind? And where the party at? I'm tired of y'all going out without me. We're gonna have to make it on the weekend so we can have some fun. What's going on and what's coming up here?
Well, I mean, the budget. Then probably next week, I think 531 will probably end up coming up on the agenda.
Okay.
We're still trying to get the LB50, the criminal justice package, up and kind of, get it moving forward as best as possible. But that's it.
Are we still in the realm of going to that legislative page and writing some notes, or coming down to support in person? Or are we still in that realm? I don't know how this goes. So is that still something that will help you guys out with what you're pushing?
Hearings are over, but you still could come down and sit in the balcony and pull senators off the floor and ask them where they're at on bills and things like that in the rotunda.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
About how many days left in the sessions?
Uh,
19,
Oh
19,
man, clock is
19
ticking.
count. Yeah,
Clock is
it
ticking.
is, but it's. I mean, look, it's like 90% of everything gets done the last 10% of the time
Yeah.
we have it there.
Right.
So it's like
Final
nowhere near.
stretch.
I was
So
gonna
yes,
say.
we'll get it done and we'll be okay. We secured 240 right now. That covers covers the Olson report and what was kind of given, and it also covers 40 million more going down into the airport park district. But there's
Nice.
other things that we're doing. So like we're attaching a pioneer tax credit bill that could be used to help build youth and infrastructure in North Omaha. Because to your point, you were talking about Benson Alliance earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So a BID is allowed to create a special levy or a special assessment, occupation tax. So you're allowed to collect money from those businesses. So the businesses are saying, "Hey, I want to tax myself a little more, and in return, we're going to put that money back into our community." Who has been successful?
Mm.
Benson has been very successful with their BID. Blackstone has a BID. So we have. I passed a bill 2 years ago to allow for a $50,000 tax credit for people who want to invest in North Omaha. Like there are a lot of tools that are already out there that we can do, but to your guys' point about trying to get educated on everything, it's hard. And so the tools are there. We just got to sit
Mm.
down and plan together. But people got to be willing to do it. Black folks, we come back on Ames and say we need to create an Ames BID. What that mean? You gonna raise your price just a little bit, a little 2 cents, and you're gonna get that 2 cents to the whole neighborhood. And they're I don't want to raise my taxes.
Man.
I don't want more cost. I don't. So it's those kind of back and forth. Like Florence has historically rejected becoming a BID because they felt like one, they have the money to raise anything they want themselves, but two, they don't want to increase their taxes, and so that's kind of how the we got to be willing to do it on our own. And so you
Mm-hmm.
talked about Ames Street. The only real projects that came in was North Omaha Health Association wanted to buy the old Cleopatras and put a clinic there. There were a couple other ones with Southern Spoon, and what he's doing down there. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of projects on that were submitted on Ames, and we
Or
had a
LB
big
1024.
yeah, and we had a big conversation about Ames and the Ames corridor. But honestly, if we just put there's enough need right now just on 24th Street, just on 30th Street. That's $1 billion. So the
Mm-hmm.
issue is kind of how do we leverage? And so we felt 16th Street with the investment by the city and other people by the airport, we could leverage all that. The airport's supposed to be doing $1 billion in construction to redo their airport. So how do we leverage that area and make sure we make an investment that it grows? 24th Street, same thing. There's a lot of concentration around 24th Street. The city's putting money in. So how do we leverage that to get our best bang for our buck? Honestly, Ames is left out of, and that's my district, and it's left out of the picture right now because Ames is trying to figure out what Ames is. You
Right.
got an
Mm.
influx of immigrants there who want to maybe do something different, and our generation who used to go to Cleopatra's Pizza, there used to be an A&W root beer there. Like they all kind of moved out of the neighborhood. So everybody's trying to figure out what is Ames right now. Whereas Benson has their own identity, they know who they are, and then you got that community around Ames where every time you open up a liquor store or I mean, a bar, one person urinates on 2 blocks down. They come down to city council, let's shut it down. Well,
Right.
Mm.
they do that in Benson, but Benson's neighbors knew what Benson was and what it was going to be, and they were part of the process. So they're like, that comes with the territory. So it's just that kind of navigating that has to happen at the local level that the state honestly can't step in and be like, we're going to dictate what's going to happen like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. It definitely seems like an area in transition. And is it going to be residential? Is it going to be heavy on restaurants? Is it going to be entertainment? Are there going to be services? And yeah.
Residential all the way.
Right.
Have
Uh,
Right.
you
Right.
ever heard of the Cornhusker Golf Club? Probably not.
Not really.
Cornhusker Golf Club is one of the oldest black golf associations in the country, and it started here in Nebraska, Omaha. It's,
What?
it was
I wonder
black
if you,
golf. It was black golfers who were a part of that. And what happened was, this goes back to us not taking advantage of stuff. The city has been always thinking about closing down Fontenelle, and there was an opportunity for black folks to own Fontenelle Golf Course, and we said no. And so now
What?
we lost that opportunity. That was probably in the beginning of 2000s. But yeah, the Golfer Association, Cornhuskers, they used to have a golf tournament every year up at Vincent Golf Course. But they are the historically one of the oldest black golfing associations, and that organization is dying out, literally. And so we don't do enough right now in our own community to promote our own history, and we get
Man,
other folks maybe ignore our history.
man,
Michelle Trostler's pops was part of that whole golf scene, man. That was
man.
his
I
club.
mean, I was too. Like shout out to the Hogan family. Rest in peace to Steve Hogan. Shout out to Steve Hogan Golf Course. That was my first job. I've been a scorekeeper at the Cox Classic. Like I have never really heard about that history. And again, I was actually a part of Omaha North's golf team. And we used to practice at Benson, or we used to practice at Fontenelle and Miller Park. So it really hurt my heart to really see Fontenelle Golf Course go away. And man, the fact that to hear that we had opportunity to own that and let that slip through our fingers, it's kind of disappointing.
I'm gonna throw this link in the chat. What's that link to, Brother Wayne?
That's just the I just did a quick search. That was the Facebook page. I don't know who's running the Cornhusker Golf Club right now, but that was just
Mm.
what I saw when I did a quick Google search of. But yeah, I mean, there's just things that we I mean, think about it. We got Native Omaha Days Parade coming up, right?
Right.
Where are we at on that? Who? I mean, it's
Who's
two
doing
months
what?
away. It's 2 months away. We should already be. But here we are. We got. What I'm hearing is the leaderships kind of in a couple different areas around this parade and around some things are they not all getting along. And this is one of our biggest opportunities to do something. Juneteenth around the corner, where we're like we should be coming together. And the problem is, we down here 10 hours a day, and we can't be everywhere. But those are the kind of things that we talk about. What can people do after that Fort Robinson trip? And I ain't gonna lie, I'm like, what can we do? What can we do for our own community, inside our own community? And what are the diamonds and gems that we got right now that we ain't got to turn to anybody to help?
That
Right.
part. That part.
Let's leave it there, bro. Let's leave
That
it there.
part.
That knowledge right there, that thought right there needs to permeate. So we're gonna let it percolate, and we appreciate you guys coming on as always. This is always a highlight of my week. I really appreciate talking to you guys and learning like I learned, and watch you guys do your thing, and whatever we can do to have you back, we'll continue to do that. So. Go back and look at some of these people, some of the chats. There's some questions in there. If you guys got time a little later on, check out the show later and jump into the chat, answer a couple of those questions. We appreciate that. Tony Johnson 12 says, "Thank you, Senator Wayne. We're not doing our part. Keep calling it out.
Man.
We gonna keep calling it out ourselves too, and keep trying and keep pushing. And Terrell, please don't move too much furniture around the legislature.
Take it easy.
Take it easy, bro. We don't want you having a heart attack at a young age.
Man, putting one of the fellow senators in a full Nelson or something. We know
I
you got the
mean,
moves.
Justin already trying to put you out the car and touch Buffalo and stuff. He's trying to get you killed in the first place. At least, if you're gonna die in nature. Don't die in the legislature. Anyway, so appreciate you, man. Let us know. You can always contact us anytime during the week. It's always a pleasure
He,
talking.
he tried to open the door though, and I was like, "No, bro, don't really do it though." Nah, I'm kidding.
Senator McKinney ain't scared.
He's like,
Nah, he didn't.
he was looking at it like I can take him down in this move right here. He had a wrestling move ready for that.
He's
Buffalo.
gonna shoot.
I was just gonna try to jump on top,
That would have been a photo. That would have been quite the photo.
wrestle it down.
That's what's up, man.
Hey, if he would have did that, he could have passed any bill down here he wanted. Boy.
Man.
You just hold your phone up. This is all I gotta say. This is Terrell McKinney riding the Buffalo right now.
Have you ran with the buffalo? Exactly. Oh man, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
All right,
man.
y'all be good.
You do the same.
All right,
Peace.
y'all.
Peace. Have a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, senators, Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney Always a good time. We're gonna take a quick break, come right back, and jump back into the chat. Lots of people talking in the chat that we need to catch up on. So we'll definitely jump back in and to some more stories and an extensive haps. Get your haps ready for a little later on the day. It is Friday. You know what that means. Time for the haps. It's going down. Stay tuned. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
I'll be Buddi3 Da Gawd. All of y'all. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the DS.
Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, Cinco de Mayo. It's going down. I can already taste the tacos. I'm already, I mean, not that I didn't have some yesterday, but, you know, should be a good time today. I can have some with other people.
Yeah.
There you go.
Taco together.
Amy H. Dot say, you rhyming, Paul? Yeah, man, I got some bars. I got bars.
Hey, sucker MCs.
Sucker MCs.
Yeah.
Shout out to the brother senators Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne. Put some respect on their names. It's always a pleasure when they come by. Learn so much, man. I really appreciate this segment, and I'd like to continue it next season. We'll see what the brothers say, but I would love to continue talking to them on some level because I just really learned so much, and I hope that you guys do too. Von Chapman asking some good questions in the chat. Good morning to you. He says, good morning. What's the per capita income of black folk in the Ames Street corridor? Support for any businesses in the area without community dollars is a huge growth problem. Yes, man. I love the language you're speaking right now. The more and more I learn about business, the more Earn Your Leisure podcast I listen to, I'm starting to think of things like that. What's going on with what's happening with per capita income around that area?
Yeah. Well, I do know kind of the like upper ends of Ames, like I want to say 45th and up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of homeowners throughout those areas. A lot of homeowners throughout those areas, especially around the 60th and Ames area. A lot of homeowners. So, you know, I do think that there is a level of income that can support the right business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the question though. Like I like what the senator said about what does Ames want to be? Like, well, like that's the question that came up to me. Like it's a thoroughfare. You speed through it sometimes, but it's also a residential area. But it's also you know, where there's businesses along the corridor. It's 2 lanes, which sometimes seems weird. Based on the area that you're in, like if you're around the school and all the houses and stuff over there, it seems like we driving a little too fast on these 2. We passing people in 2 lanes past the school, you know, like there's just so much. There's so much. You don't know what it is. You know what it's supposed to be, what it is, where do people gather. The one grocery store on the strip until you get up to Baker's. What does Ames want to be? When I was here in the 90s. My great-grandfather used to take me over there to where Walmart is now, was a Baker's. And they had a whole kind of restaurant in the front of the thing, if I remember correctly. He used to sit there with the old heads like the old heads do at McDonald's. They used to sit at Baker's, right there in the front of Baker's, man, having their little Baker's cafeteria food or whatever they were serving over there back in the day. And I just remember going to that shopping center a lot for stuff. There was a bunch of stuff in there.
I I remember going there to the beauty supply store that used to be there.
Yeah. And up the street was Joe Tess. I remember going to Joe Tess Fish up there. I remember going to A&W Root Beer. I remember going to Cleopatra's. It's like even in the 90s, it seems like I was on Ames a lot more than I am these days.
Leola's.
Yeah. So good question. Good question. We're first of all, let's figure out what it's gonna be. Then, then what we're gonna do about trying to get something going for us. So appreciate that very much. So try to jump back into the chat just a little bit. Really appreciate everybody. Tony Johnson 12 had a good question. Which senators are up for re-election next year? This is a good question. I asked him about this secession plan all the time. We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
We need to very much talk about it.
I do want to dive into Sister Vicky Young's comment. Brother Wayne said there's not anything going on with Omaha Days, and apparently we have the source. She said that's not true. I'm the coordinator for Native Omaha Days Parade. So Sister Vicky Young, let us know what is going on, because we also have not really heard much about what's going on. And would like to know.
I'm glad to hear that Vicky Young is heading that up. So yeah, let's definitely talk to you, because we've been trying to gear up to try to cover it this time. So our idea is that we're gonna try to put together some First Sky Omaha coverage of Native Omaha Days. There's a lot of people that are interested in Native Omaha Days that live away from Omaha that are also our audience too, and we're steady building that up. So we wanted to kind of like cover that so people in other states that are associated to Omaha can see that. That was our goal. But again, we haven't even connected with you, Vicky, or anybody else who's been a part of running that in order for us to try to coordinate those things. And it's coming up. Like I said. So I'm glad to hear that, Vicky, you are the one that's doing that. We'll definitely get a hold of you and see what we can do.
Also, a golf tournament would be nice too.
You're on that golf now for real.
Man, I'm telling you, it's one of the things that me and my father have bonded over, and it's very close to my heart.
I'm down to smash a little white ball. Let's get this.
Man, let's get it going. And plus, man, that course is serene, man. Get out there, that green grass, get them birds chirping, that sun beaming. It's a beautiful thing.
I can feel that. Brother Mayor Sanchez says 24th Street in South Omaha took out one lane and made it into parking on both sides of the street. The traffic moves real slow there, but you have more of a reason to stop and frequent the businesses around there when you put it down to one lane like that. They don't just speed thoroughfare through. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I can't see. It's hard to look at Ames like that. They've done that to 24th Street too, and they did that to 30th Street too. So they put a bike lane in, put it down to one lane. But it's hard to see Ames like that. Like I don't know why, but the way that it's built, it seems strange to put it down to one lane. There's just not enough businesses for you to kind of pull off. I don't know.
Well, I would say it's more plazas, so you kind of need the outside lane so people can pull in and out of these plazas.
That's true. Yeah,
you can't really turn it into parking. But I'm kind of going along with that woman, Miss Erica Phelps says it looks like a retail and recreational strip from 42nd on up, especially 50th and up. Just needs to be dusted off. So retail and recreational strip, she's saying.
Yeah, it definitely needs a facelift. I can totally understand that. Definitely needs a facelift. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of equivalents around the city that we can say if you make it look like this, then this would work. I'm not sure, just not sure. Von Chapman is asking, has anyone ever seen the city's master plan? Master plan. That should tell you all you need to know about the future of not only the Ames corridor, but North Omaha in particular. Yes, it's been a while since I looked at that master plan. I'm going to have to go pull it and see and check it out again. But I'm glad you brought that back up, because we were always talking about that when funds come to North Omaha or any of these things that are happening that we're talking about. Some things don't really fall. If they don't fall in line with that master plan, sometimes they don't get funded. We've come across that recently. So it is worth looking at that again and trying to see that what's happening there, and if there's any leeway on being able to change some of that, or see if we can add something to it or do something, because they seem to be going with that plan pretty tough.
Yeah. I just looked up the Forever North plan, which I know is one of the big plans for development in North Omaha, and it does account for the Ames corridor.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yes,
sure
sir.
exactly seeing what the plans are for that area, but it does account for it.
Yeah. Ms. Rickenfeld says it shouldn't look like elsewhere. That's Ames. Celebrate the different districts that are on the 60th, 70th block stretch. 60th block, she meant. Like I said, that's 60th up to 72nd. That Benson has something to do with that area, and they have a lot to say about what happens in that area, which is the reason why Cleopatra's will turn into bunch of this club, that club, this shuts down. Like he said, somebody goes down the streets and pees, and all of a sudden somebody's closing the business down. That has a lot to do with the citizenry of the Benson area, and that's why I kind of am saying leaning towards this idea of putting some kind of BID or some kind of group together for Ames in particular to beautify. BID is the improvement district. If you kind of are putting some responsibility behind taking care of the Ames corridor from all the way from 30th to 72nd, then you might have a little bit more say about what kind of what happens there, the businesses there, what kind of money can be pulled there, and so on and so forth. So,
Now that was very interesting to learn about the BID, and I wouldn't see why. I mean, I guess I can understand people not really understanding it and not really wanting to be a part of it, but again, in BID, as Senator Wayne just explained, you're creating your own tax pot that you don't have to complain about what city council is doing. You don't have to complain about what anybody is doing. Just create the BID and then tax the businesses in that area and then use it to do what you're trying to do.
well, there's also some, but we're leaving out one of the things is that Mayor Stothard chooses who's on business improvement districts. So they're appointed. I can't, and as many times as like Lavanya Goodwin has gone to the city council and asking them for money to put flowers in on 24th Street. I can't see that they just have complete control of this other budget. They probably still have to ask the city council, or she has to go to Juanita Johnson and say, please release these funds. You know
And
what I'm saying?
that's kind of interesting because of the politics between her and Juanita Johnson. And again, Juanita Johnson's also Councilwoman Juanita Johnson is also part of a 24th Street BID.
Right. So, yeah, interesting stuff, man. It is 8:47. Obviously, we can go on about this Ames situation, the whole show, but let's do a little lightning round of a couple little things that we had in mind to talk about, and then jump into some halves, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Kind of run it down. Speaking of city council and what's going on with the city and what Mayor Stothard is doing, in other news, there's still a search for Human Rights and Relations Department director after Brother Gerald Kuhn was asked to step down from his position. Still no details about why he was stepped down or asked to step down. But the World Herald did issue a records request, and through which they found that there was a letter sent out to Brother Kuhn before his resignation, asked to place telling him that he was being placed, on administrative leave, and that was sent to him on April 7th. And then 5 days later, he resigned from his position, and that was announced by City Attorney Matt Coos to the city's directors of labor relations and human resources. So again, both documents were withheld under exceptions to the state's public records law, but no real decision or details as to why that decision was made. Again, Stothard also declined to comment on the circumstances leading to Kuhn's resignation, calling the issue a personal matter. And again, the replacement is still underway as far as who that will be. A new director has not been yet reported, but Joe Cavell, who is a former deputy city attorney, is currently serving as interim director for the Human Rights Relations Department, which is primarily responsible for investigation, elimination, and prevention of all forms of socioeconomic disparities and prohibited discrimination in the areas of housing, employment, public accommodation, and contracting. So a very, very important role for the city to hold the city accountable, and it's vacant right now. So
Yeah, that's the reason why this is news, because that position is so important. And Brother Kuhn is a friend of First Sky Omaha, so we can leave it at that. There's a little bit more news on that. There was a little action taken, and then he stepped down. We can reach out to him, see if he wants to talk about it. If not, that's cool too. But the kind of the point here is that position is open. We got to kind of keep our eye on that, on who they put in that position, because it's a pretty important one. So
yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yep.
In other news, we sort of mentioned it with the senators, but definitely need some prison reform, especially in regards to how our inmates with mental illness and mental disabilities are being treated. Again, there's a horrific story coming out of Tecumseh State Prison where an inmate was shot with over 200 rubber bullets, pepper balls, and bean bags after he was reportedly being disruptive. This was during a disturbance actually 2 years ago. And recently, this apparently incident happened again with the same inmate. The inspector general for correction said the use of force was excessive and unnecessary in dealing with the mentally ill inmate with whom prison staff had previous experience. The inspector general wrote in a statement saying, although this event took place in 2021, it was important to release it in order to promote accountability within the system and to assist with identifying any possible reforms related to this incident and similar incidents. Again, big shout out to Chris Baby Boy Bowling, who we will be having on Monday to get some more details about what's going on with this situation with this inmate. But again, the Inspector General, per Chris, is kind of being very nonchalant about this and just how inmates are being treated with this situation. And again, this is a situation that was not reported by any higher ups. This is a situation where the inmate who himself, who was a victim of this abuse, had to speak up and lift his shirt up and actually show his wounds before this actually made news.
Yeah, and it was a watchdog group that pulled it out. So
Yep.
again, no
Yep.
official. I
Yep.
put the link into Chris Bowling's article there. Please take a look at that and have be able to contribute a little bit of comments and questions if you have them for him when he comes in Monday. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Speaking of other police reforms, there's a lawsuit coming out of Kansas for a police tactic called the Kansas Two-Step. Shauna Maloney of Colorado is recalling her fear after troopers used the tactic to search her family's RV as they were on a cross-country vacation back in March of 2018. The pre-dawn search on I-70 turned up nothing illegal, of course, but she says, I don't feel safe driving through Kansas anymore. Maloney testified Monday in a testimonial, which was at times emotional, over the Kansas City Star, who reported the lawsuit naming Patrol Superintendent Colonel Herman Jones seeks an order to stop the quote-unquote two-step, which allegedly works like this. Troopers find a reason to make a traffic stop. As the troopers head back to the patrol car, the trooper takes a couple of steps and then returns to again interact with the driver. The procedure buys time to continue seeking incriminating information and to get a drug sniffing dog to the location, even if the trooper lacks reasonable suspicion. The ACLU of Kansas says troopers target out of state motorists coming from places where marijuana is legal. Kansas is among few states with no legalized form of marijuana, going straight back to Paul's whole theory about Nebraska being a prison state.
Bro.
And again, what Senator Wayne was saying about the whole residue law.
Yeah, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Texas
Yeah, man.
two-step is scary to think that we gonna need a new green book around here. We can't drive to Texas, can't drive to Florida, can't drive to Kansas.
Man, just stay home. Stay home. And to kind of wrap this up in other national news, a jury has convicted Enrico Terrell of the Proud Boys in seditious conspiracy charges. He's the former former Proud Boys chairman, excuse me, and three other members of the far right Proud Boys group have been found guilty of seditious conspiracy by a federal jury in Washington, D.C. The jurors also convicted Terrell and the others of obstructing an official proceeding, conspiracy to prevent an officer from discharging their duties, obstruction of law enforcement during a civil disorder, and destruction of government property with a value of over $1,000. And of course, one of the most important cases to date stemming from the insurrection on January 6th of 2021. Of course, Proud Boys have been heavy in the news as far as one of the far right organizations that have been active over the years, and the convictions amount to a significant victory for the Justice Department, who's again not only been trying to secure a victory against leaders of not just the Proud Boys but also Oath Keepers, another far right organization with ties to President Trump. So again, these are things we should be looking out for ahead of the 2024 election, where we are going to have a kind of a rematch, if you will, between Trump and Biden. So expect a lot of bad blood. Expect some of the same things from last year, maybe even intensify it again, as this is again another round. So yeah, we'll see.
And there's lots more to talk about when it comes
Yeah,
to
man.
this subject. We'll definitely pick it up on Monday during our News Monday section because, we got to talk about the brother that got choked out on the train.
Man,
There's a lot happening out here, man, that is still, is still fighting that whole white supremacy thing and everything else. So, we can get these little victories here and there, some convictions, but, the tone and everything that's happening now, like you said, it's correlating right with this whole 2024 election. It's going to be pretty crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what's up. Let's move on to the Haps, man. Before we get out of here, we got about 5 minutes left in the show. So let's go ahead and jump into
What's happening? What's going down?
Ladies and gentlemen, time for the Haps. Time for us to talk a little bit about what's happening this weekend that we think that you might be interested in, and time for you to tell us what's going on this weekend as well. We would love to hear about some of the things that's happening that you think we ought to be checking out. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into Cinco de Mayo that's happening at the Benson Theater. You know that if I'm going to be a part of an organization that's kind of bringing some stuff to it, that we're going to bring it right. And this is going to be one of the most important celebrations of Cinco de Mayo in the city. It is not one that is the commodity version. This is the commoditized version where you're going to see a whole bunch of, folks wearing sombreros and Mexican for a day type of thing. No, this is a serious celebration. It's brought to you by a couple of folks, man. It's brought to you by South Omaha Immigrant History Museum, being one of them, Sherwood Foundation, Douglas County, Visitors Improvement Bureau, Future of Latino Fund. So yeah, lots of people there, and this is also a celebration. It's not going to be too serious, but it will be a century of activism by South Omaha Mexican and American families will be honored, and also talking about some of the history of this day as well. But there's also going to be Mariachi Zapata. The Mariachi Zapata that's going to be performing. Also, the Hispanic Arts Center of Omaha Dance Company will be there. Sangria Azteca is going to be there. So there's going to be some celebration happening. Of course, there's going to be the tequila tasting with Chato Chicano, a.k.a. the Tequila Whisperer. So we're going to have a funky good time there tonight at the Benson Theater for Cinco de Mayo. And, of course, it's First Friday, which means after you have a couple shots of tequila there with the Benson Theater, then walk down the street and see some art in the rest of Benson. Check in with the Benson First Fridays crew, who's always on deck doing some good things. It's supposed to be good weather tonight, so definitely check that out. And spend a little time out there, man. But it's going down. Cinco de Mayo is today. Food, dance, music, history, and a serious celebration, along with a little tequila tasting. It's going down.
Sound like a celebration to me.
Celebration.
Yeah, man.
Don't also forget, man, we're going to keep on pushing this until it happens. It's coming up, though, 19th through the 21st, celebrating the life and legacy of Malcolm X over at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. It's going down, honoring El Haj Malik El Shabazz, 3448 Evans Street in North Omaha. You know what it is, the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. Definitely check it out. I'm glad they're getting back to these multi-day celebrations over there at the birthplace of Malcolm X, bro. So I'm happy to see them doing that. And I'm sure they're going to have a lot more going on. We might have to have somebody from them on to talk about the activities of those 3 days. As we get a little closer to the date, we will definitely do that. Another one that's very important, I'm seeing this Autism in Black Conference that's happening on the 28th. Mark your calendars there. I mean, a lot of Black families that have children with autism. And sometimes it can be a little challenging, and you're looking for support and looking for support with people in our community. So here you go, cultivating the Black family experience. Join us virtually for a weekend focusing on autism and the Black family experience. We want to provide a safe space for attendees to grow and learn. The goal is always for attendees to leave feeling empowered with the resources from the conference so they can better serve their families and community. 28th through 30th, you can sit at home and do that online. You can check in with them at autisminblack.org/conference 2023. Definitely check them out if you're so inclined. We'll put this in Friends of First Sky Omaha in case you need to see that registration address again. But mark your calendars. Check it out. Most definitely.
Celebrate.
Anybody else got anything? What's happening here? Ariel's 402 says Mexico is a country doesn't celebrate the battle, but the town of Pueblo does celebrate. It's not Mexican Independence Day. Yeah, make sure that you understand it's not Mexican Independence Day today. Cinco de Mayo is a different thing. Battle of Pueblo. So we're gonna learn a little bit about that at the Benson Theater tonight.
There you go. Looks like Keisha Zyko is asking what time.
5:30 is when the tequila tasting happens, and 6:30 is when all the dancing and the music and stuff starts.
There you go. There you go. Of course, the parade is this weekend, right?
Parade. Don't forget about the parade, man. Cinco de Mayo parade out south. Like I said, the weather's supposed to be good. It's always a fun time, good time. Go get your tacos. Get your elotes. Frequent the vendors and see what's going on the block. It's always a good time every year to go see that. So that's definitely happening. Let us know who's going to go out there to the parade this weekend too. I'd love to hear about that. So anything you got any? Oh, that's next weekend you said.
Oh, parade is next weekend.
Next weekend.
Okay,
Got it.
Okay. Well, thank y'all.
Appreciate the clarification on that. Thank you.
But yeah, I don't have anything. That's pretty much it. Big shout out to everybody for coming through today. Thank you to the senators, Justin Wayne, Terrell, McKinney. Put some respect on their names.
Yeah.
And big shout out to all of you, the chat chimers, ghost listeners, everybody who's embarked on this. It's about 10 o'clock, so let's try to get out here on time.
9 o'clock, bro.
Well, it's 10 o'clock my time. It's probably
man.
4 o'clock Pop's time. Ain't no telling.
People believe in the concept of time.
Right, exactly.
Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here then. If you guys got any more haps, go ahead and put those in Friends of First Sky Omaha. If you have missed any parts of the show, you can check it out in its entirety. Go back to Facebook and YouTube, the First Sky Omaha pages, and check out the show and dive into the chat. Definitely left a lot of chat out this time around. There's whole other subjects that was happening. The brothers in here talking about what was going on with the baseball, with the College World Series and everything else. So lots of different conversations happening. Jump into the chat and check them out. And this will be things that we can address at a later date. In the meantime, between time, Buddy, got some words for the people?
Yeah, actually, Amy H. hitting us with one before we get out of here. She says 12 to 3 walk and peaceful demonstration on Dodge in front of Memorial Park, as today is National Day of Awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women. So definitely shout out to Amy H. for dropping that on us. If you have some opportunities, go out there, support. And,
that's a huge one.
Yeah, it is. That's why we had to work that in there. But without further ado, man, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, have a good weekend, get out there, enjoy some weather, get some fresh air, and catch the same time, same place, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on First Sky Omaha in the morning.
That's what's up. Hey, a little clarification here. I spoke on the BID. Justin Wayne is giving me what the real information about it is. He says the BID has control of the budget. The city has to approve the special tax, but BID votes where to spend based on a list in statute. 24th BID has tons of nonprofit on it, so no occupation or real estate taxes. 24th has $40 million asked for improvements, so that is more than their special tax or occupation tax assessment. So they're asking for more money. I understand.
That's
okay.
That's
Appreciate the clarification on what the BID does. Is definitely something we're learning more about. Like I said, I just hooked up with the Vincent BID. I'm trying to learn all I can learn from there, and we'll see what's up for sure. Tony Johnson 12 says, stop being scared to comment in the Facebook group. Yes, but let's remember that we're having discussions as if we were speaking face to face in those groups. So personal comments you can leave on your page, information that has some places that we can go research and stuff like that.
Solutions
was what we would like on the Friends of First Sky Omaha page. And I'm trying to leave that to everybody to be able to self-regulate. But we do have to remind you, in the spirit of the way that we would like that page to function, please remember that part. Then we might get some more people that go in there if we can approach it that way too. I really appreciate everybody who's joined into the chat. We're going to head and go get going since we're already about 3 minutes late for sure. Our agreement is that we end this thing at 9 o'clock, and we seem to break that agreement just about every show. So we apologize for that. Maybe we'll just go ahead and make a new agreement that we're going to go till 9:10. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Pop says, another phenomenal week of shows. Thank you, Paul B. and Buddi3 Da Gawd. Love to you both, and love to the entire First Sky fam. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate it very, very much. I appreciate all of you who was jumping into the chat and having a vibrant conversation, which is what it is that we know is the start of something great. So we really appreciate that. And go back, and like I said, go back and take a look at everything that's happening in the chat. It's a lot today. We want to give shout out to and thanks to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. We want to give thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before them, and thanks to you, the chat chimers, allowing us to speak with you. Appreciate all of your comments, questions, facts that you bring in. Learn a lot from us having these conversations on a regular basis, and that's what it's all about. Also, I want to give shout out to the reoccurring members and sponsors of the channel as well. $10 people, $25 people, $50 people. We are working on new perks and new things that will make your contributions even better. So we really appreciate what you have done in order for us to keep these conversations rolling.
Yeah.
If you're so inclined, please go to firstskyOmaha.com, hit the donate button so we can also advance the conversation and move into some other areas that will enhance what we're trying to do with Black media. So we really appreciate that very much, and we appreciate you. With that said, have a great weekend. Again, there's a lot going on. Have a good Cinco de Mayo if you celebrate, and take care of yourselves and get out and get some sun.
Man,
Get out and get some sun this weekend for real.
that part.
We'll see you Monday. You guys have a good one. Peace.
By the way, Vanglorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroad, with the key.
By any